Snap Tackle Pod time. I'm Mick Schaefer of 41 Action News. He is Dean Clisseau of PrepsKC.com. We have 2 more games left in this 2020 season, Dion, for Kansas City schools, Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
And then it's over with, well, all classes being decided. We had some teams drop by the wayside. But what a year, and I would say overall, what a successful year, considering everything else.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is the percentage of games that were canceled kind of stayed pretty static along the way, and we're down to 4 games, and none of them got canceled. I mean, as of right now, knock on wood, or 5 games really in Missouri, and so it says a lot about protocols and people doing the right thing. And hey, we made it to the finish line. That's great, and we're playing basketball and wrestling right now too. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know what's going to happen there, but we're trying to get through, and the fall sports got through there. So no, fun week last week. Crowned 3 champions out of the Kansas City side, and on both sides of the state line. And we've got 2 that are metro teams really in Pius and Platte County. And in the Preps KC coverage area, we also cover Maryville and Mid-Buchanan as well, going for state championships.
Hey, if you're going to extend the coverage area, right? If you're going for a state title, let's bend some rules, whatever.
Members of the Coach Association, man, that's kind of our thing. And Matt Webb is a loyal Coach Association member from Maryville. He would drive down all the time for those coaches clinics on Wednesday night. That's a long night from Maryville down to South Kansas City and back. So,
well, that's great. So yes, 5 games overall, and then 4 more if you throw in Mid-Buchanan and Maryville as well. Let's get back to last week. 4 teams going for state titles. I'd say that the biggest surprise was a pleasant surprise, and it was a great game by Ray Peck. I mean, shutting out DeSmet. I talked to Sean Martin before that game. He felt confident in his guys, confident in his defense. And look, DeSmet had played, 6 games, right? And Ray Peck finishes 12-2, 14 games. They didn't miss a beat this season.
Didn't miss a beat. And, I think what really helped them, look, DeSmet's a great team. I mean, that's a great program. And what really helped Ray Peck was just getting down the line. Coming through what they came through and playing everybody from here. And then a Nixa team that's really pretty good, probably the best team from Southwest Missouri, and took care of them. So, no, I think they really, they came out with a great game plan. And defensively, they came out and got physical with DeSmet, and that's not what they want. And they want, they've got some great skill players, fantastic players, and they're a little more of a finesse team. And so they really got physical with them and then just shut them down. And then they found a way to get the ball to Jaden Doss without having to put the ball in the air and let those really athletic corners and linebackers go after the ball. They just handed it off to Jaden Doss. He had a couple big runs, had a field goal that bounced off the crossbar and went in right before half. So, I mean, it was Ray Peck's day. And somebody somewhere said it was the biggest upset in Missouri high school sports history because DeSmet was ranked 9th in the country somewhere. And I'm like, no, Ray Peck is a good team. They're the 2 best teams in the state. It's football. It's high school football. This isn't Alabama losing to, Coastal Carolina or something like that. No, Coastal Carolina's a pretty good team. But So, I mean, or I don't know, Alabama losing to Kansas. Maybe that's a better analogy, better way to put it. But no, hats off to Sean Martin and his staff. And I think there was one simple reason why they won the state championship. They went back to the RP on the helmet. I think that's it.
That's it.
Back the old RP on the helmet again. That took off the little Power Panther or whatever it was, but it's a good clean look. And you'll be seeing that logo reappearing on Preps KC here before long. We do our little season-ending clearing up things. We're going to return that classic Ray Peck logo to our site.
Well, about time you figured it out, Ray Peck. Congratulations on a state championship, first since 06. Is that right?
05, I think. 05. I think it was 3, 4, and 5. I think they were there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it was 4, 5, and 6. Maybe it was 4, 5, and 6. I think you're right.
I think it was too. All right. Over in Kansas in 6A, Blue Valley North gave it a run. Was scoring with Derby for a while, and Derby just pulled away. We thought this might be the year in 6A that team was going to be able to jump up and get them like Blue Valley North did a few years ago. Yeah. Derby seemed to get better and better as the year went on, and they win state yet again.
Well, and Blue Valley North, they came out, they matched them, and then they had turnover and got behind, and then had another turnover, got behind, and that's the thing they couldn't do. They had to kind of get ahead and make Derby chase. And they really never got that position. It was always, they would score and tie. But Blue Valley North's got a lot of juniors, so that's a team to look for next year. And we quarterback and Mekhi Miller, the receiver as well. So that's a game we could see again next year. There's a lot of teams that have something to say about it out there. And we know that 6A is very strong on the east side of the state in Kansas. So hats off to Blue Valley North, but Derby's pretty good football team, really good football program. And they've got it up and running. They got a brand new stadium that's going in down there. It's going to be one of the better high school stadiums in the state. And, as long as they're there, they're going to be the team you have to look at in 6A for a while.
I think it's 7 and 8 years ever since 2013. Derby has won the state title in 6A. In 5A, kind of a repeat game of last year. The same participants in the game went almost exactly like it did a year ago. Kind of a high-scoring game. Mill Valley ahead pretty much the whole way, but Northwest came back a couple times to tie it. But Mill Valley puts away Northwest for a second straight year with 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. And the Jags have won 4 of 6 state championships here.
Yeah, and really, really impressive because that Northwest team's pretty good, and they've been there 3 years in a row, and I think that's an accomplishment right there. And
there are only 3 losses; those 3 years have been the state championship.
Yes, to Aquinas and then 2 to Mill Valley. So, no, I think it just shows the toughness of that Mill Valley team. And the week before, they won with defense and just dominated Aquinas. Next week, what do you got to do? Well, we got to get the shootout. We got to go score, and they did.
Played great, I'll tell you that. But there are like 20 possessions in the game. Northwest plays so fast.
Yeah,
they're putting quick, they're turning over quick, they're scoring quick, and so it creates. I think there was like 16 possessions. So you hold them to 5 scores. I'd say pretty good for that offense.
Yeah, no, I think that fantastic effort really by both teams. I'm impressed with Wichita Northwest. I am. I think they're what is essentially kind of a city school. All those Wichita schools, it's tough to get it going, and they have. And it's been a long time since Wichita Heights won a 6A title back in 2009. But there's the Wichita schools have kind of been down for a while, and Northwest has done a great job. But Mill Valley, what can you say? And with such a guy as a head coach who's such a jerk, and Joel Appleby, who's literally the nicest guy. And the story that I love about Joel Appleby this year, I found out, is that he went to high school his senior year with Brian DeLong at center. He moved into his town, and he was on the offensive line.
DeLong was maybe his center, and he was the quarterback.
Yes, and said he told me, he goes, Dion, he goes, he is the same guy he was in high school, the All-American kid, homecoming king, the whole deal, nicest guy in the world. And I said that, he goes, we may have been getting in trouble, but he'd come and get us out of trouble and stuff like that. So no,
and his first cousin is
Brandon Martin.
Down in Derby.
In Derby. So yeah, there's and good guy, does it the right way, and built a fantastic program there with the staff. It's lost some good staff members. TJ O'Neill and Rick Pollard have moved on to head coaching jobs, and they've still kept a good staff together as well.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Drew Hudgens. Got to be the best assistant coach in the city. Just amazing job what he's done, and all those guys have done with that program, which is, that and Miege, I don't know what better program has it up and running, win state titles in the city than Mill Valley.
Yeah, they both have definitely dominated the last half of the last decade, and starting it off right in this decade.
All right, where are we at here? We're in 4A. Okay,
4A, St. James.
We haven't talked about St. James, who knocks off Bishop Miege in the semifinals, and they win their first state title over Arc City. And what a year for St. James. What a year for, St. James, the running back, James White, who had like 17 touchdowns in the playoffs.
Yeah, and really there's one play in there that kind of encapsulates the kind of player he is. There's a screen pass, and he gets kind of stopped behind the line and kind of breaks a tackle. And as he's cutting back and breaking and turning a 3-yard loss into a 62-yard touchdown, he picks up a great block from one of their wide receivers and another great block from Dakota Burrett, their quarterback. And Tom Radke told me, he said, our quarterbacks and our guys, they like when he gets going, they go look for somebody to hit because they think, hey, until he's down and that whistle blows, there's a chance he may come running by you. So you might want to find someone to block. And outstanding job of that entire team. What a fantastic, fun football team they were. And really, Arc City came out, halfback pass to get in position for the first touchdown, some onside kicks. And they got one onside kick, but then they had a couple that didn't go. And then you're giving St. James a short field. They were able to kind of get it going right there at the end of the second quarter, and they just kind of cruised from that point on.
Now it's also sees St. James Get it done this year, Tom Radke. Another one of those jerks out there, right?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, a lot of jerks winning this year.
Right,
It's just
right.
Sean Martin over Ray Pack, just horrible guy.
Well, good stuff. Let's look ahead here. Class 5 is happening this weekend. It's Saturday. It's over there in Jeff City.
Yes.
All straight here.
Yeah.
Platte County taking on Jackson. What do we know about Jackson? We know a lot about Platte County. We've seen them all year long. Chris Ruhnke can throw the ball all over the yard. What kind of shot do the Pirates have?
Well, I think they've got a really good shot because their defense is playing really well. That's the little kind of, we know Ruhnke can score some points, but
you always have to have both going for you.
Yeah, last couple of weeks, the defense has been the difference in the second half. And Jackson's a team that can score a lot. And I think everybody looks at the Fox game where they beat Class 6 Fox in the last week of the regular season. It's a rivalry game. They kind of ran all over them. And then Fox lost to DeSmet 13-0 in the semis. I don't know. I think there's a lot of transitive properties going on out there. People are like, oh, Jackson's got to be unbelievable. But I don't think their week in, week out schedule is anything close to what Platte County played during the regular season, and especially what they've done in the postseason. North Kansas City, Staley, Green Valley, Webb City. And I'm not a message board guy, but you go out there and you see some stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of people who think that Jackson is chirping way too much for a team that's made like one state championship game. So there's some people. I've heard there's some other people outside of Platte County that are rooting for Platte County to get that done. And of course, again, another member of the horrible, mean, nasty head coach club, Bill Oots, that nobody likes. Another one of those guys that, so no, I think Platte County, when he was talking to me and he said in 2017, they had Michael Smith, outstanding defensive end, had like 16 or 17 sacks. And he said this year they actually have a few more sacks spread out around different people. So they come at you from a lot of different angles, a lot of different people. You knew where the guys were you had to take care of, and you couldn't take care of them in 2017 because they were so good. But this team has got a lot of different guys who come at you. And so, Trevor Scott's their outstanding linebacker, and he's up for the Buchanan Award. So, but that's a team that defensively has gotten better and better each week. And they overcame, Chris Ruhnke threw 3 interceptions against Webb City, and they still won. So if they go out and Ruhnke has a Ruhnke game where he throws for 4 or 5 touchdowns, they could get it going. Or if they need to get into a shootout, they've got Chris Ruhnke, Dayton Mitchell, the other 4 guys I'm not mentioning who all have like 400 yards at least receiving because he gives it to everybody, and Caden Davis, their tailback. So yeah, it's I think Platte County's got a really good shot. Being there last year, losing to Webb City means a lot to these kids, the experience level they've had. So, but Jackson also lost in the Class 5 final to Carthage last year. So both these teams have been in the state championship game. 2 teams that lost in state championship games in different classes playing each other this year.
Yep. All right. So in Class 4, Smithville lost last week. We don't have a Kansas City area team. I heard the score was not indicative of the game. Smithville had a real shot in that one.
Yeah, they kind of dominated that game. It was 0-0 until late in the third quarter. They score a touchdown. They get a field goal, so they're up 10-0, and it looks like they've got a good shot. They give up a touchdown in the fourth quarter. They've got the ball. They're killing the clock. They're inside the 20. They need to get a first down. They don't. So Jeff City gets the ball. Elias gets the ball back about, I don't know, not even really a minute left, like 55 seconds left. Throw a ball to the middle of the field, 2 missed tackles. The guy ends up on the 16-yard line, and they score like 2 plays later. I mean, Smithville ended up getting the ball back with 32 seconds left.
Wow. And
they're down 13-10. They can't get, I mean, that's a cut your heart out loss. The one thing I think that will soothe some Smithville fans is there were a lot of sophomores, like 7 sophomores on that defense, offense as well. The quarterback, Andrew Hedgeworth, is a sophomore. So yes, I feel horrible for those kids. Looking forward to see what they do the next couple of years, because I think Smithville's going to be pretty good. Yeah,
agreed. All right, in Class 3, I mean, it's a couple powerhouses, right? You got Blair Oaks and Maryville.
Yeah, played in week 1. Blair Oaks blew them out. Maryville had 18 suited up players for that game.
Oh, wow.
Bunch on quarantine due to COVID. And they lost the person who was going to be their starting quarterback midway through the second quarter to a torn ACL. So they played 2.5 quarters with a quarterback who did not know he was going to be a quarterback that day. And, they've got some losses along the way. They lost to Odessa. I mean, so they've got some games where they've learned a lot in some spots, and they're just kind of going along and playing Maryville football. And there was a team that was a dominant team a few years ago that everybody thought was going to lose to John Burroughs and some guy named Ezekiel Elliott. I wonder whatever happened to him. And they went and they beat them pretty handily because they were able to let Ezekiel Elliott go for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that's all they scored. And Maryville just never gave them the ball, and they won by 2 touchdowns. So I think Blair Oaks is a good team, and they can score. And that's, they've done a fantastic job. They're back in the state championship game for the second time in 3 years. They were in the Class 2 game 2 years ago, but I think Maryville's got a shot.
So let me get this straight. Blair Oaks is in a state championship game, but then their school is also hosting a state championship game.
Yes.
Elias is in a state championship game, and their school is hosting a state championship game.
Yes, and neither one of them are playing at their stadium.
At their one. It's a different one. Okay.
And that's why they moved the Class 3 game to 6 o'clock so that the because Elias is hosting the Class 2 game
at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock on Friday night. So the people the ADs, the people who are working the game will be able to go to the Elias game the next day. Sure. The Blair Oaks people was going to be at the same time. So they moved the Blair Oaks game to 6. And so they can work the game, the Class 5 game, or the Class 1 game at Blair Oaks, and then go to the Class 6 game. Is that all straight? You got good on that?
No, I'm nowhere near straight on it. But anyway, we'll move on to Class 2 here, being played at Blair Oaks. Yes. Speaking of powerhouses here, I mean, Anthony Simone and the Pius Warriors, man, they got to prove it to get it done this undefeated season, win state title. Lamar, one of the, just all-time powerhouses in Class 2.
Yes, and they won 7 in a row from 2011 to 2017, and really were as dominant as anybody in that stretch. 17 was kind of the look of maybe they're starting to come off that dominance, and Lafayette County gave them a pretty good game in there, and then they lost to Lathrop in 18 and it ended their streak. They're back. These seniors were freshmen the last time they were in a state championship game, so they have a sense of what it is, but they don't have that built-in muscle memory of this is what we do the last week of the football season. We either go to the Dome or Columbia or or all these, or Springfield, wherever they were going at the time. So I think that helps Pius in the sense of this isn't a Lamar team on a 3 or 4 season run. They still run that double wing where they'll put 2 quarterbacks back there and snapping the ball crazy, and they're sounding their blocking schemes, and it's 4 and 5 yards. But I tell you, St. Pius has done a fantastic job defensively. They win last week 31-14 on a late touchdown at the end of the first half, onside kick, late touchdown. So like 16 seconds, they gave up 14 points. And that's all they gave up the rest of the way. That defense has been outstanding all season. And I think that's what's going to get it done. And the offense is really playing well. They really kind of got the offense going last week. And I think if they can, get some punts out of Lamar, they'll have a shot too, because I think they're a little bit more dynamic on offense. They have the ability with Dieters and Sharp and Jack Mosh, the quarterback, to kind of go and score. And, they're house money at this point too. But I think that they've beaten Maryville. They beat Savannah. They won that MEC. So they've got some good wins on their belt that they can really lean back to and say, we maybe kind of like Platte County. We've maybe played a little bit better schedule than maybe Lamar has this year.
Yeah. All right. Is Mid-Buck the best team in Class 1?
I don't know. I'd like to see Mid-Buck against the winner of Pius and
Lamar. Class 2 too.
Well, they're not that. The funny thing about Mid-Buck is they're not very big. Adrian was bigger than last week. It was 35-0. Windsor's bigger. It's just bigger and more physical than them. They've got some guys who aren't very big, but they're fast and they're talented. They're skilled, and they can go. And Javen Noyes is their quarterback. He's got almost 5,000 yards total offense. He's like 1,500 yards rushing and 2,900 yards passing. Wow. Just ridiculous. We'll see. I think they're 2-3 touchdown favorite, but you got to go play it. But they're outstanding. They're a lot of fun. All
right, let's get to the Simone Awards. The semifinalists, right?
Yes,
have been announced here. So basically, the top 10 in every category. We'll start with the Taylor here. A lot of good wide receivers this year. I don't know if there's the favorite that jumps off the page at me when I look at those 10 guys. What about you?
No, there's a lot of good guys in there, and it's small schools and big schools. A guy like Tyler Claiborne's come on late. David Dieters from St. Pius. You're going to talk about smaller schools. One thing before we get going, I think it's really exciting that the 41's involvement in it this year, and you guys are kicking things off on Sunday with the Coach of the Year announcement.
Sunday on our pregame show, we'll talk about the Coach of the Year, and we'll announce the Coach of the Year, and then Sunday on the post-game show. On Sunday Sound Off, we will reveal all the final four, the finalists in every category. And then starting on Monday with the Taylor Award, and then through Thursday, we'll announce the 4 awards that aren't the Simone. And then on Friday, we'll do it up bigger and have the unveiling of the Simone Award. I think the plan is to that's the best part of the Simone. It's the Simone surprise. Still surprise the young man at his house or school or whatever, socially distanced and safe and all that stuff, but then turn that video around and have it as special of a Simone Award as you can in this climate.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be in a school, that's for sure. Or, in a crowded gym doing that, but really, trying something different this year. And with the pandemic and a lot of fun, but yet, you talk about the Taylor Award. First off, that's been the first one handed to a kid on Monday night. And man, you got young guys in Jaden Dosh. You got guys who've been Jalen Knoll, who's, one of the more highly recruited guys in the city, is going to Iowa State. So you've got a little bit of everything in that group. That was the deepest award. I'll be real honest with you. When the media committee got together and we selected the semifinalists, and that's how it's done. The media committee gets together and they whittle down and try and come up with 10 guys who, the goal is always, as was stated by one Nick McCabe, who organized the media committee way back 10 years ago. And Mick and I were a part of it, was make sure the winner is on this list.
Yes.
10 guys, and it's tough because when you go 10, there's always an 11, much like when they're voting for them, and the coaches in the media committee, the coaches committee and the media committee that vote for them, we rank 1 through 4. Well, there's always a 5. So it's tough. And there are good players who don't make this list. There are good players who won't make the final 4. And that's not really even a slight to them, but the Taylor was definitely deep this year.
Yep. The Bell Award, it's always the mystery award, right? It's always the hardest, those interior linemen from the smaller schools. Yes. You gotta find guys like you that are really paying attention, but a good list here as well. Any of the, we got 2 from Tonganoxie, 2 from St. Pius. Any guys stand out to you on this list?
Well, yeah, you got the 2 from Tonganoxie and Brandon Martin, who's their outstanding linebacker. He moved over from Piper in the offseason, but then Dallas Bond, their defensive end, is also a tight end, and it's offensive lineman, defensive lineman, linebacker is the Bell. But he could have been. He had 500 yards receiving, like 13 touchdowns as a tight end. That's Taylor worthy. But we kind of, as the media committee said, he also had 16 pancake blocks.
Yeah.
As a tight end. So that tight ends are offensive linemen. So there is that little. And I talked to another coach who played him and said that guy was the dude that we couldn't handle. So that's a guy that's just kind of highlight him, and the 2 guys from Pius, then Carter Stanchfield from Paola, one of their great guys, and Creed Webster from Mid Buchanan, kind of the anchor of that line as well. So 10 really good guys. I encourage everyone to go out there and check out that video, and as we go through and look at them, and we'll highlight all these guys, especially as we get closer to it. But no, the Bell's a good group. That one sometimes is harder to find depth there, and every year we're working harder to get more and more Bell guys out there. But no, it's definitely a fun one.
All right, the Buchanan Award, which is basically the same as the Bell. It's interior offensive or defensive linemen and linebackers in the big classes.
Yeah.
And there's some FBS names on this list. You see Ethan Kramer, who just got an offer from K-State. You got Danny Carroll, who's a stud at Aquinas. You got the kid from Blue Springs. There's some monsters on this list.
Yeah, and Danny Carroll just won the offensive MVP award for St. Thomas Aquinas last night on a team that has Tank Young. That says a lot right there. An offensive lineman wins that award. You talk about Bo Stevens from Blue Springs, Ethan George, the anchor of that defensive line that just got done shutting out DeSmet in the state championship game, and Cole Mondi, the linebacker from Lawrence. So it's a good group. That's a deep group too, and even a guy like Cam Carswell from Lee Summit West, who anchored their defense, as a linebacker. Everybody there, and how about Dominique Orange from North Kansas City, who's a junior? There's a lot of good young guys out there too. So the Buchanan's always good. The Buchanan has a history of putting guys in the NFL.
Yes,
and guys who don't even win the Buchanan are in the NFL.
Yeah.
Braden Smith from Olathe South, I think, was a finalist 3 years in a row, never won it. Lost to 2 guys who were in the NFL. So that's the Buchanan is always one of those that has had a great history, and even recent history.
Well, one of the Davis twins didn't win it, and he's in the NFL too.
Yes, yeah. Davis twin, and So yeah, it's definitely, it's tough to put Simone winners in the NFL because it's hard to get skill guys and quarterbacks in the NFL. But we've definitely got plenty of big guys who can tackle and run and that come out of Kansas City.
All right, on to the Fontana, and I think this ballot is loaded. I mean, you have Tyler Bowden, you have LaJames White, you have Tim Dorsey, and so many others that were just so good this year in the small school level.
Well, how about a guy like Grayson Sprouse from Summit Christian?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure a 4-year starter. It feels like it's 6 or 7.
And he won games this year. They made a great run.
Yeah, so that Fontana is wide open, and should be a fun one there. And and that's always one that you see teams, and it's tough because St. James plays a different schedule. They play up a lot, and Miege was in the same boat. They play a lot of bigger schools, and even like a Jace Reynolds down in Harrisonville, they played Maryville. They try and play up too. So a lot of great players on that Fontana list.
On to the Simone here. We have 6 quarterbacks and 4 running backs. This looks like a tight race. So there's some years, Dion, where we know the winner going in, or maybe it's a 2-horse race. This could be any of like 5 or 6 dudes, it seems like.
Yeah, it's who you like, and 5 on each side of the state line. That doesn't always work out that way. It just happened to work out that way this year.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the depth of quality. And you see with how teams are doing in state championship games and putting teams in semifinals that it's a good year for Kansas City football in all classes and the big classes as well. I got Chris Ruhnke at Platte County, and you talk about Conrad Hawley at Ray Peck and Cooper Marsh, and a lot of those good quarterbacks. Henry Martin, Blue Valley North took his team to a state championship game. And really the running backs, Wintrick Williams, here's a guy who only played 8 games for Liberty, had 1,300 yards in 8 games, and really was outstanding. And that's a guy who plays a full season, probably sitting at 2,000 yards. He's a junior. He's coming back. And then Zach Willingham Davis had 1,300 yards. And, they put a saddle on him and rode him to the semifinals. Liberty North did. I mean, he was their offensive threat all the way through the semifinals.
There's going to be some, with this year, you're going to have to take into account the games. You can't just look at stats.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some kids playing 8 or 9, others play 13 or 14. And that factors into it, right? I think winning is part of it, especially the Simone Award, especially if you're the quarterback or something like that. But yeah, it definitely has to factor in. You can't just say, well, this kid threw for 3,000 yards, this kid for 2,000. You could have played in 2 or 3 last game.
Yeah. The games played is always a yards per game, or that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, we've gone way over, but that's all the time we have. We could talk all day on this, but it's a podcast, and I don't know what the podcast rules are, but we're just going to wrap it up. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Dion, thanks so much for the time. Thanks to you as well for watching. We'll do it again. We'll have a 15th episode next week. Absolutely. Wrapping up the rest of the state championship games, and then maybe one for the Simone Award. Maybe we'll go into basketball season. Who knows?
I don't have a problem with that at all. We can do that.
Do it. Let's do it. All right. We'll see you next time, at the very least, right here on Snap Tackle Pod.